Hello, 3D modeling class. Welcome to week 10. In week 10, we will talk about adding a model into the real world, so putting it into a photograph. And that is, in fact, your assignment 3, which you can begin this week. So let's just jump right in. So here's your prompt for assignment 3, the real world assignment. It's worth 15 points. It says, put a realistic 3D model into a photograph. And realistic, I'm using that term loosely here. Try to get the lighting and shadows correct. You can use my assets here. I have a link that you can follow, also below in the video, or create/find your own. I'll talk about this add-on that I'm using as well, that I encourage you to try it out if you'd like. It's worth 15 points. 6 points for creating a nice looking model using modeling tools. 6 points to make it look like it belongs in the photo. Include a render and submit on time, please. Okay, so the other couple weeks ago when it was really nice out, I decided to just like snap a couple of pictures in front of my house, and I figured I'd use this for demonstration, and then give you the option to use my assets here for your assignment. You also have the option to use or create your own. It's really easy. Phones these days can do like all of this stuff. But so for example, on my phone, so I've got a Pixel phone, but one of my options is I can do a photo sphere. I believe iPhones have the same feature, but then all I did was I just took a bunch of pictures around in a circle like this, and then sent it. It just makes a JPEG like this, and then I just emailed it to myself or uploaded it to my Dropbox. My children are here, and so I blurred out their faces. Also, I sold my house, so I actually don't. I'm moving, but I just wanted to remove any possible identifying information so nobody comes and stalks me. I also blurred out my neighbor's license plates. But it was a beautiful fall day in Minneapolis, and I also took this image as well. So the reason I have this is just a regular picture of the sidewalk, and so I figured I'd put something here on the sidewalk, and then use the HDRI just for the environmental lighting. Let's talk about how to do this. So there are a couple main challenges for doing this, getting this to look good. The first is getting the shadows and the lighting to look accurate. So making sure the shadows are going in the right direction. So looking at this tree, there's a very clear direction which way the shadows are going. The sun was bright, so it's a pretty sharp shadow. And so that's the first challenge. And the other main challenge is making sure that we're getting the camera, the field of view of the camera to look accurate, so that something doesn't look like it's really far away, that it looks like it's an appropriate distance from the camera. So a lot of times on smartphones, you can look back at your pictures and see, it'll tell you what your focal length is. Or if you're using a DSLR, you can probably also see it in the metadata, or just remember oh, I was using a 35mm lens, and so then your camera in your scene is going to be a 35mm lens. So when I look at the camera data for mine, 6.81mm, which I don't think is right, because that's super wide angle. But there is a add-on that a plugin and a software that I've found that actually can determine that, look at your photo and figure this stuff out for you and import it into Blender. So this program is called fSpy. Open source still image camera matching. So it's actually really slick. It's a software that you can download, and there is also a Blender add-on in order to like import this stuff into Blender. So you do not have to do this if you don't want to. It's pretty easy. So you're downloading two things if you want to do this. You're downloading the Blender importer, and then you're actually downloading the fSpy software. So if you hit this download, this green download, this will take you to a place to download the program. So it's Apple or Mac. And then if you go to this importer add-on here, this will take you to the importer, the Blender importer. So if you're not familiar with GitHub, it can be a little confusing. Like, what do you download? Code, go to file. Here on this page, it's actually down under getting started. Download the latest version. So you want this fSpy Blender XYZ zip. So download this fSpy Blender 103 zip. And then you'll go into Blender, and you'll go Edit, and go to your Preferences, and go to your Add-ons tab, and hit Install. And then you'll go to your downloads, and you'll find the zip, the fSpy 103 WinZip, and install the add-on. All right, and then once you install that, you can search for fSpy. And it's called Import, Export, Import, fSpy Project. And make sure you've got that checked. And then all that does really is, when you close it, if you go to File, Import, you should have at the bottom this fSpy import option. Okay, so that's part one. Part two is downloading the application. Where is it? Go back here. So you can download for Windows, Linux, or Mac. And then once you download it, let's see. The folder's kind of a mess here, but there is an fSpy application. This, at least on Windows, this is how it looks for me. So you can open up fSpy, and then we can drop an image. Okay, so let's just do it. I'm going to close these in my photo viewer here like this. Close that, please. There we go. Okay. And then I'm going to go to my Fall 2022 modeling class. This is real world, and I'm going to drop in fall image. Okay. So how this works is you just need two sets of parallel lines, and it's actually really easy with this particular image because we've got a sidewalk. So all you have to do is put colors on the same side of or as like parallel lines. So I'm going to put the green ones here on this part of the sidewalk, here and here, like this. And then the red ones I'm going to line up on this part of the sidewalk. And you can see it's starting to try to calculate where my axes are. But these basically are vanishing points. So you can see that, like, okay, these two parallel ones go off this way, these two parallel ones go off this way and vanish over there, and then this is our axes. So one thing, we want Z to be up, so actually I can just, up here on the top left, I can change the vanishing point from X to -X, and this will flip the Z up like that. And we can even do an XY grid like this, so we can kind of see like, yes, here's our grid. So, it's actually like not feeling quite perfect because so I'm just like moving it around the scene to see if that like feels right for being level. Feels like a little bit too high up here. I think maybe I'll take I want to take the green one down here like this. And the other thing you can do is just make these longer so that it's more of an average here like this. Take this green one, move this one down here like that. This is feeling a little better. Okay. I feel like that's pretty good. That feels about right. Okay, and then we can save as. So we're gonna go File, Save As, and I'm gonna change up. I'm gonna save over this actually. Replace it. Yes. Okay. Cool, and that's all you do. You can close that, and then here in Blender now, because I have that add-on, I can go import fSpy, and I can find that one. So go to Fall, go to Modeling, go to Real World, go to Fall Image fSpy.fSpy. Okay. Now, this is like a bug that I have been encountering, like a little glitch, and I don't know if it's just me or what. Whoops. But whenever I use a reference image or a background image like this, my like grid goes crazy. So it gets a little better when I switch to cycles GPU. Actually, it doesn't really get better at all. So what I've been doing is just turning off my axes and my floor, just so that it's not bugging me. Okay, so what do we have here? So it imported a fall image fSpy.fSpy, which is a camera. So actually, we can delete our original camera. I'm also going to delete the original light too. So we've just got our cube and this camera that we imported. So clicking on your camera, go down to your camera properties here, the little green thing. And what it has done is added a background image to this camera. So if you can see that background image is checked, and it's loaded this image, the fall image fSpy. Let's up the opacity to 100% too, so we can get it nice and visible there. And it's also lined up this camera to match the camera angle of the image. So if we actually look at this here, we can see field of view is 68 degrees. So actually, maybe 6.8 was what my camera said. 6.8 millimeter, 68 degrees. Is that a coincidence, or does that actually mean something? So you got lens unit, field of view in millimeters. Yeah, so 26.69 focal length. Interesting. Anyway, and so now if I move this around, if I go G Shift Z, like it kind of looks like it's moving through the world there. So it's like, oh yeah, now it's across the street, and now it's here in front, and now it's like right in front of. So like it feels like it's fitting in this world. Now notice, this we don't actually have an image in our scene here. This is just a background image for the camera. So if I rotate like this, it's going to go away. So it's basically only visible in the camera view right now, and that's fine, honestly, because they want it to like match this situation. Other thing, notice, look at our output settings. So the resolution is 3072 by 4080. That's because it has importing this fSpy changed the output to match the resolution of the image, so that it like looks pixel accurate. Okay, so that's step one, or part one, I guess. The next thing is let's put our HDRI in here. So I'm gonna go to, let's go to the shading view, just because we're gonna need to do nodes a little bit. And we want to go from object to world here. And let's Shift A, add a new environment texture. So under texture, it's environment texture. And let's open up the HDRI. So it's in here, modeling, real world, fall HDRI, open image. Okay, connect to the color. Okay, so this is good. But notice that it's not rotated the correct way. We're looking down the sidewalk rather than at the sidewalk. So we just need to rotate this a little bit, and it's actually a little bit tricky here in. Well, just follow along. So first we need texture coordinate. Texture coordinate. And remember, this is like just telling the coordinates of the texture on the thing. So it's generated texture, and we want to plug that into the vector, and but then we want to change it on its way there. So I think it's mapping, Shift A, search for mapping, and you can just drop this right in the middle here. And so this will allow you to change the coordinates of the texture. So we're just going to rotate the Z. So you can see now the world is rotating back there, and I'm just going to try to line up the tree here. It's moving kind of slow. You can see that my neighbor's truck over there. So we're just trying to get this pretty close. That seems about right. Okay, cool. Yeah, and we'll call that good. Go back to layout view. And so if we go 0 like this, and go to render preview like this, yeah, we're getting close. Yeah. Yeah, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. The HDRI is just for the environmental lighting. Oh, here's the other thing I was going to do about this. So, in order to get like a good shadow, I want to like actually use the sunlight here in the scene. So, in order to kind of match that up, let's add a sunlight into the scene. So we'll go Shift A, add a light, add a sunlight, and I want to put like the sun in the sky, like directly, or I want to block the sun in the sky with my object here. So, and then I can go GZ to move this up a little bit. And then G, I'm going to just move it so that it's like right, and actually we can even just hide the cube right now. I want to move this so it's like right on where the sun is, which is, I guess, kind of right there. And then we can turn the cube back on, and then I want to move the little target to like dead center on here. And so then this is going to be creating, hopefully, a pretty accurate shadow. So let's talk about shadows. And once we've done that, we don't need to see the HDRI. So let's go to our render settings and go to film and turn on transparent, because actually if we don't have this on, it's going to kind of mess things up a little bit, because we got to add one more thing, and we're going to add a shadow catcher. So let's go Shift A, add a plane, and scale it up, and this is going to be like the thing that casts the shadows on it. So I'm going to go G Shift Z so that it slides like this, and you know what, rather than do a cube, let's do a Suzanne. So I'm going to go add a monkey like this, GZ. Okay. We obviously don't want to actually just see this plane in here, but we do want to see the shadow that's cast on it. Because like if we don't have a plane, there's not going to be a shadow, because it can't just cast a shadow onto the background. But what's nice about using that fSpy thing is that like as long as you keep it on the zero on the Z here. So if you go G Shift Z, it means it'll move in all the directions. This will be like level with the ground, which is actually like pretty slick and pretty easy. So I'll just put it right there for now. And then here in our transform properties, the little orange square here, our object properties, I guess, go down to visibility, and we can and one thing, this only works in cycles. So if you haven't switched to cycles yet, please switch your render engine over to cycles, because Shadow Catcher only works in cycles. But here under visibility, you have this Shadow Catcher option, and if you click that, it'll make it go away, but it'll still keep the shadow, so it'll be a shadow catcher. So we can go G, Shift, Z like this and actually move the monkey a little bit more on the sidewalk here like that. Very nice. And then let's turn up the sunlight a little bit. So I'm going to click on the sun and just change the strength of the sun just so the shadow's a little harder. It was a bright day, you know. Let's go to Suzanne and let's right click and shade smooth. And look, it's looking pretty good, I think. Yeah, it's already not too bad. I'm also I'm gonna go to my environment and turn down the strength of the environment a little bit to like 0.5. Yeah, this is kind of one disadvantage of not making an actual HDRI and just doing like a big 360 thing camera is that, or photo, is that the brightness of the sun isn't like quite accurate. So you'll have to play with it a little bit. But the other nice thing, or like partially nice thing, is using the HDRI, I'm going to get pretty good reflections. Oops, move this back a little bit. So like if I put this ball in the scene here, above Suzanne here like this, and do shade smooth, and make this like metallic, if I add a material to this, and make it really metallic and roughness way down, we're getting like a pretty good reflection, except that the shadow the shadow catcher like doesn't work. So like if I turn off the plane, you know, you can see it, but then we lose the shadows. And there's like very complicated ways around it, and you can Google it, but it's really not worth me going through it right now. So yeah, just like user beware a little bit. The other thing I'm gonna do is I think my angle of the shadow is maybe off just a little bit. So like you can always kind of just change the target of the sun like this. So if I move it this way, it'll make it move that way a little bit. That might be a little bit better. But it's up to you. It's up to you. And there, cool. So now, for your assignment, you know, model something. Like you put something, spend a little bit more time. Don't just put a Suzanne in there. But like, be creative. Try to have fun with this a little bit and see what you can, if you can make something either realistic or something like totally ridiculous that would be on the sidewalk here. And again, you don't have to use this photo. You can go out and do your own, or like do something of your basement or like somewhere, or find your own. So get creative with it. Now, final step is rendering. So if I render this right now, it will not have the image in it. So we need to do just like a little bit of compositing to kind of put this together. So real quick, I'm gonna turn my render settings down, just because because it's such a big image. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time rendering, so I'm gonna just change my render time limit to like 10 seconds. So like just real quick, if I do render image right now, it shouldn't spend more than 10 seconds on a quadrant. So because this is larger than like full HD, it kind of does it in chunks. So it does like it's doing this chunk, and then it's doing this chunk, and then it'll do this one and this one. And the time limit you set is per chunk. So if I say 10 seconds, this will do it in 40 seconds. So hopefully I can talk long enough with all of its cascading turns of phrase. And any fans of The Office? Okay, there we go. So you can see that it doesn't have the background image, so we need to do a little bit of compositing. So this is like a little bit of forecasting. We are going to do a lecture about compositing later in the semester. So close this real quick. And I should also say, like, if your shadows, if in your model your shadows are fall on something that's not totally flat, you can just like kind of fake model underneath it. So if I take this plane, oh, and here's the other thing too, G Shift Z, if the plane isn't there, it's not going to catch the shadow. G Shift Z. So let's see. Yeah, and actually a couple things. So you can see that like even though it's a shadow catcher, it's still like reflecting the light color of it. So you should probably at a minimum put a material texture on here and just change the color to like something underneath it. So you can do like a color eyedropper and like just get the color of the sidewalk under there, or even like make it a little darker or something like this. So it like at least sort of looks like it's reflecting. And edit this so that it's doing what you need it to do. And again, like I don't know what the deal is with this. SX, right? Like why I'm getting these little artifacts. It only does it when I'm using these reference images, so really I don't, hopefully it's not doing that for you. But like if you take this edge here and GX and move it like right along the edge. So let's say I had like a curb or something here, like right along here like this. You can like just model it EZ extrude up and then like EX extrude like this. So you'd have like a little curb like this. Or if you wanted to like have the tree, you could just do a cylinder. Like go back into object mode, go Shift A, add a cylinder. And G kind of, move it over where the tree is, relative, and like S scale it down, and SZ, scale it up like this or something like that. G Shift Z and like line it up with the shadow there. And then also just make this a shadow catcher, visibility, shadow catcher. And just like, I don't know, make it, brown. Just to do a new material texture, just make the color brown like this or something like that. And so then the shadow would cast on it. So like you could have shadows in different shapes and things like that. So that's an option too. Or like if the shadow falls on a building, just like you have a flat plane and then you model like the building going up, and that's a shadow catcher. So you can use as much or as little detail for shadows and things like that in your image. Okay, so let's talk about compositing. And actually I'm going to delete the cylinder like this. Yeah, whatever, I'm fine with that. Let's go to, there's actually a compositing workspace up here. Compositing, great. So reference images don't render. We just need to, and we'll use compositing to add that image back in an official capacity. So like what compositing is basically just like putting things together. So first, so we're in the compositing workspace up here. Let's hit use nodes. And let's clean up our workspace just a little bit. So here I'm going to get rid of the timeline. And we can make a little more space here. And let's actually have a new workspace here like this. And over here on the right, I just want to see like the rendered image basically. So over here I'm going to go to image editor, and I want to open up our so here, rather than like open or new like this, like in other things, this one shows existing things in the scene here, so we can go to render result like this. And so it did, because I did let it render last time for 40 seconds, there is a render result kind of saved in storage here. So we'll just keep that there. Okay, compositor over here. So we have the rendered layers, and it's inputting out to image. And so this is like our final render. So we need to just bring the photo I took from my phone back in here. So I'm going to Shift A, add an input, and this is going to be an image. And so like inputs, inputs are different or like our options here for nodes in the compositor are a little bit different. But anyway, so we can input an image. I'm going to open and find the original image. So I'm going to modeling class, real world. This is fall image.jpg, open image. Okay. And now we need to combine these. And the node that I'm going to use to do this is called alpha over. It's in color. But it basically is like we'll put an alpha of an image, over another one. So we can do that, and we can drop it right on top of here. And our fall image goes into the first one here, and there we go. So and then now we can render once again. So then if you hit render image again, it's going to do like just the model and the shadow catcher and stuff first. It'll denoise, and then it'll do the compositing. So then it'll add in the other stuff. But again, we're going to talk about compositing more later on in a few weeks. So this is your assignment. To do something kind of like this. So get creative. Again, like this really isn't that complicated. So this is another opportunity for you to like step outside your comfort zone a little bit. Try to model something a little bit more exciting, a little more unique, and put it in a photograph too. See if you can trick some people into thinking it's actually there. Anyway, a little bit shorter this week, 32 minutes. So don't forget to get finished up on anything else you haven't yet, including your wooden ship renders. But otherwise, let me know if you have questions. You can follow the links below to get what you need. Have a great week. Goodbye.